Hello, welcome back to a new episode of 4-2. Well, why are you guys laughing?
No, because
mean,
you're so hyped up.
Just
And we
saying,
don't see a lot of hyped up Nathan.
just saying, welcome back. Now, let's get it started. So, what are we going to talk about today?
We're going to have a debate about reunification of Korea. Dun dun dun.
I'm a strong opposition.
Also, guys, let's please note that this is not like how we divide the people. It's not up to our political
views or our personal opinions.
This is
we
totally random.
This is random.
We pick numbers. And Nathan is lucky because he got to be on the opposition side.
Because actually, I'm really on the middle side, but I got opposition, so okay.
So let's
start.
We have no moderator, so we're just gonna be.
So who is on the proposition?
It's me.
Panel
and
Olivia and
Santino.
Santino are on proposition.
And opposing is Nathan and Dana. I have a strong feeling that this is gonna end up in mess, but let's
don't be too harsh.
Yeah.
It's not. This
Let's
isn't
don't
like
make an ugly debate or an
this
argument.
isn't like an official speaker. You may speak now. No. This is just a free kind of talk between friends. We all did our respective research, or so I believe.
What is up with that? So I believe.
And so let's start.
Great.
Get it.
So
Let's start with the proposition.
we gave you a bit of, context on the last episode. So
Right.
if you haven't seen that, you can go check it out to, learn a little bit more on the background of how our South Korea and North Korea have been divided for the past 70 years. And one of the, the conflict that has been going on here in Korea is on the topic of reunification. Should we reunite with North Korea or should we not? Can you all kind of sort of tell us your opinions and the reasons why?
Personal opinions, not regarding our.
No, just we're starting the debate here.
Okay.
Let's first start with the proposition. Let's see what Santino has to offer. Personally.
No, let's not use the word personally.
Okay.
No personalies. This is really just a debate, just to look into the arguments.
Yeah.
So, we should I say we?
yeah.
It's
Go
okay.
ahead.
We believe that Korea should be reunited because we I want to point.
It's okay. Be comfortable.
I want to point out two main parts. Is first, it is beneficial for South Korea too. First, South Korea has so little natural resources. We only have entrepreneurs and like what to call it? Technician based economy, but
Don't be nervous. It's okay.
North Korea has so many natural resources and
Right.
and minerals that South Korea doesn't have.
Right.
And also, one of the major problems in South Korea is the aging society and low birth rates.
Right.
And we can maybe figure this out by reuniting with North Korea and absorbing their population. And the mass increase of population of North Korea can maybe so to solve low birth rates and short low workers in Korea, we have to get refugees or get reunited. But the refugees already I believe accepting refugees kind of
Isn't a right way to.
Yeah, and we already accepted refugees in Jeju Island, a couple of years ago in Yemen, I guess. I believe. And that didn't really work out. We believe that the only way to solve this low workers and low birth rates in Korea is to absorb North Korea's population.
That is actually a very valid point.
And we also believe that reunification isn't something that can be let's do this, let's not reunite, it's necessary.
Yeah, it is
Um,
necessary.
Because one day, North Korea's currently very unstable government will fall apart.
Mhm.
I strongly believe in this. It will fall apart. And when that time comes, the two bodies of power that will be, most likely to integrate North Korea will be China and South Korea. And between these two powers, obviously, in the perspective of South Korea, obviously we should be the ones
Of
to
course,
get that
we
land
were
in-
originally one country.
right.
So.
And once that time comes, as a Korean, do you think China should integrate North Korea? And if we don't make efforts to reunify, North Korea may be more inclined to become integrated into China because China is a communist, country, which just creates another political crisis in the perspective of South Korea. What do you guys think?
Oh, yeah, but the thing is, so Santino talked about like it's beneficial to both countries, but I believe that we have to have a great analysis on the scale of how, so whether or not if like the benefits are really like bigger
Yeah.
than the negatives. I mean, because if you look at it, so first of all, an episode for the episode before this like episode last week, so go check it out. It's in the pop-up banner up below. It's in the pop-up banner wherever it is. I mean, so in the previous episode we talked about, so there was a point regarding it has been almost like over 70 years since we have separated, and the generation that has had a link to each other are in the process of dying out in
Right.
those nations. So that means that our generations, so both respectively, our generations in North Korea and also in South Korea, we don't have a connection, especially in language. It's like starting to show in languages, it's starting to show in culture, it's starting to show in the way we think. So basically, if that alters and we don't have a connection through that kind of like old generations, then so it can be viewed as actually two different nationalities, like two different cultures actually. So I don't see the necessary purpose trying to reunite a nation that is like slowly in the process of being like divided more and more as the time passes.
And it's not like the people even want to
Yeah.
reunify. So, like I said in the previous episode in 4-1, the millennials don't even really care about reunifying, and the MZs are really don't want to reunify because they don't have any connections with North Korea. I don't have any connections with North Korea, and it feels really distant to them. And because people feel this way, and because these MZs will be adults and they will become the people who vote, we think that because the public's attitude isn't really friendly towards reunifying, it isn't really realistically possible. And also, like, North Korea's attitude is also very
Hostile.
yeah, very hostile towards us, and they have nuclear weapons, guys. Like, this shows that they are not really sincerely thinking about reunifying, because if they want to at least reunify, they will be peaceful to us, they will be welcoming to us, but that's not happening right now. And like a few days ago they tested missiles towards Japan, and yeah, that shows that they're clearly not in the right mindset for reunifying.
Well, I feel like this is just all the more reason to reunify, because this hostility will be continued towards ourselves, and people have to continue going to the military, have to continue using taxes to keep the military going as it is, and if we want to get a step closer to world peace, we will have to reunite and make North Korea stop doing what they're doing right now and be in their hostility towards the rest of the world. Short-term economic crisis is necessary, I feel like, obviously,
Inevitable?
because it's a very inevitable because of the disparity. South Korea is one of Asia's first world countries, and North Korea is on the other side of the spectrum.
Right.
But I feel like in the long term, if we look at things in the long run, this what is it? This, how do I say 혼란?
Disaster and catastrophe.
Like, it's this,
A disorganized state.
yeah,
Chaotic state.
Yeah, the chaos
Word bake.
is to be expected and is necessary for long-term peace and economic, success and prosperity.
Because you talked about economic issues, you guys know that it's West, right?
Yeah.
West Germany. Yeah, West Germany had to pay a lot to support. Wait,
Support.
is it the
You're
other way around?
No.
That's right.
no.
I'm right, right?
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, bro, like, did you do your research?
I did research, but I'm getting baffled
Well,
right now.
I feel like, but in the long term, if you look at it right now, Germany is one of,
but they're still
European-
paying for
right, and I feel like it
the
hasn't been,
unification process. It's been 30 years.
30 years. I don't think is that long in terms of economy.
But
and
if you are the one who
politics.
pays the fees,
right. But
your bank account.
But I feel like this is all in the perspective of the people.
Yeah.
But in terms of like nation, in terms of the nation, in terms of the government, in terms of the long-term prosperity of the country itself.
But realistically, people have to live their lives, and to be honest, Germany and Korea's situation is even like more different because in the case
Right,
of
it's
Korea,
been way longer for
we
South
have
Korea.
been separated for 77 years.
Mhm,
Yeah, and
right.
yeah.
But we're
So-
not. But we can't say that South Korea isn't ready. But because South Korea is economically one of Asia's first world countries, and the later it becomes, the later the time comes, the harder it will be to reunite and become one country. It has to start now if we're gonna start at all.
That is actually right. Yeah, that is right.
I mean, but the thing is, okay. So Olivia talked about the economic risks, but that is kind of the thing that I had in mind. Is it really necessary for our generation? So if you're in a reunification process, is it really necessary for our generation or the generations that subsequently follow to take a hold to go through those short-term risks in order to guarantee a future that isn't even like 100% guaranteed in the first place? So is it really necessary, even though...
I understand that concern because on an individualistic perspective, each and every one of us will be required to sacrifice a certain part of our life to become ready and integrate North Korea. But in terms of like the country itself, I feel like yes, it is necessary because of the population crisis that South Korea is experiencing right now, because of the limited resources that we have, because of the military and peace related crisis that we're experiencing right now, all of this will be resolved in years to come if the reunification.
But the thing is, in the short term,
Will it be?
so we have to use a huge amount of a huge sum of tax in order to rebuild the social infrastructure, rebuild rebuild mines, financial, economical infrastructures in the north, and to accept those people and to give them people housing and to actually facilitate the system. But however, the thing is that in that process, there's so much economic loss, there's so much tax loss that my point is. Will a unified Korea have the same competence in the first place to actually catch up with the other nations? So, for example, in the current status quo, we are the number one country, number one or the second country in terms of semiconductor business, right? But if the companies and the individuals pay huge sums of tax and the nation is just in a financial crisis to rebuild the social infrastructures and to aid the reunification process, then individuals, companies, and the nation as a basis will lose its competence in every other possible way.
There was a really famous saying in Germany because West Germany will lose its power because they're helping East Germany.
But
It was
did they lose their power? I don't think so.
I mean,
Did
they
they
didn't
lose-
lose their power, but the people who lived there had to afford enormous amount of tax. And
So
it really
would
took a
you
toll on
so
their
would you
lives.
guys say that West Germany and East Germany's choices to reunite was wrong? Would you say that it went in the wrong
But-
path?
Honestly,
e-
it wasn't.
No,
wrong.
but East Germany and so the difference between East Germany, West Germany, and Korea and South Korea is that the nations were basically divided by government entities, right? Government entities, and the people themselves they didn't have like that much like hostile resentment
Well,
towards each
I
other
don't-
compared
well,
to Korea.
Well,
Mm.
according to the research that I did, yes, they had their conflict
I mean,
amongst
they
the
have
people.
their resentments and they have
Because
their conflicts, but
There were because they had, according to the economic perspective, West Germany was much richer than East
I mean,
Germany,
but-
and they did call like the East German people,
yes, that is a
taking
point to
up
be
taxes
to be noted. But the key difference is that hatred has been solidified in this case. We have been solidified for 70 plus years. So for East Germany and West Germany, it was only like a few decades.
Well, it's still a couple of decades in our time, and like I said, the longer this division goes, the harder it will be to reunite, which makes me think that we should be moving our feet faster.
Okay, so maybe we were kind of in a stalemate
And-
there. So like Santino has been quiet for like a few for a considerable few minutes. So does Santino have any other opinions on this?
The major point that I want to point out is that yes, there will be some very big economical crisis if we unify, but we have to like have a long-term perspective on this motion. Like if both South Korean and North Korean economics are falling apart, especially South Koreans, as I pointed out, the low workers and the natural resources. Yes, we are one of the most problems in the South Korean economics is I believe is because of the natural resources. We have to import all of the natural resources from abroad, and you pointed out that Nathan have pointed out that our South Korean companies will lost its competence with other
lose competence. Yeah.
lose competence with other companies around the world. But I believe we believe this will actually increase if we find a stable way to like process those plenty of natural resources that haven't been like processed due to North Korea's lack of technology.
Right, and the population in itself is a huge resource.
Yeah,
It's untapped resources that can be trained to become even more, a benefit to our nation.
yeah.
So, I feel like the thing that we have to look at is what the real purpose of reunification is, in the perspective of both our country and the people. Because in the perspective of the country, yes, reunification will be, in the long term, a better way. But people, realistically, in their lifetime, will have to pay off these taxes and the cost that it takes to support North Korea. There will be conflict. There will be, conflict based on culture, based on, the money that it takes, based on everything. But, if it's just a matter of understanding, I guess.
It is for a worthy cost, I believe.
And I believe that the purpose of reuniting is to get rid of the source that gives us this feeling of anxiety that
Right.
war can always happen. But so reuniting can get rid of that element, which is very great, obviously. But we also have to think about the social
Definitely.
conflicts that will happen, and if the stress of the social conflicts and the intensity of these social conflicts are equal to the anxiety that being always in war creates, that will actually not be very beneficial to us, because that's the reason
Mhm.
the reason why we reunited is to get rid of anxiety. But if we reunite and an anxiety happens, there's no purpose of reuniting whatsoever.
Definitely.
Yeah, and about the military too. Like, if we like the main point I want to address is the military, and one of the major major use of tax in Korean government is because of the military, and there is so much there all men of South Korea have to serve in the military, and I think that's a really big part, really big loss of workers in their prime, because they're all men in their 20s, and that's a really big loss. And that I believe that's one of the biggest, like, what do you call it,
Loss.
loss, but because of the conflict between North and the South Korea.
Okay, so yeah, of course. So I mean, the situation is, as Santino has mentioned it, as Dana and Olivia has said, it's not beneficial for both sides. So the debate is continuously raging on between generations, political parties, and political entities. I mean, individuals, on whether we should reunite or not. So whether we reunite or not, in my perspective of view, one thing remains certain is that peace is essential, and peace is essential in the Korean Peninsula for the global society and the global security as well. So reunification can be a very strong way to uphold peace, of course. But however, in case reunification doesn't work out, I believe that both Koreas should actually find constant ways to actually bring peace, to
And
have
interact with each other.
sustain
Yeah,
peace in this
definitely.
peninsula, whether we reunite or not. So I believe peace is just like the maintaining core value that we should maintain, whether we reunite or not. So
Definitely. So thank you all for listening to our little,
Podcast.
unofficial
Debate.
debate. And we'll see you guys next week with a more, with a brighter, less
Let's
heavy
let's
topic.
give the
Yeah.
people a hint.
less more.
Let's give the
less
people a
serious.
hint with posting a reels about our next episode.
Okay.
Not bad.
So check out our YouTube channel to watch the reels. And we're gonna end it for today.
Yeah. As always, peace.
Oh my God! Please stop.
That is actually a very great ending to today's episode.
right.
Oh yeah,
You're
yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
Please.
I mean,
Let's
yeah.
let's say peace.
Oh
So
God! It's so
on my
cheesy. Please
on
don't
my
make
on my
me
cue, everybody
gross.
on my cue.
Okay.
As always,
Peace. Bye.